It's 9:01 on Monday, October 19th. I'm going to call the Executive Cabinet meeting for the Board of County Commissioners to order. Let the record reflect that we have all three commissioners present. And the first item of business is Ms. Yates. Has got some guests that are going to give us an update. Ms. Yates.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for having us. I'm joined today by Judge Murphy and Jim McDevitt. We are here to just provide an update on their work developing a status report on the Blueprint for Reform. I'm going to turn it over to two out of the three members of our Criminal Justice Commission. Dutch Wetzel is the third member and was unable to join us this morning, but they'll walk you through some of their preliminary findings. We're planning on publishing this by the end of the month. And just to remind folks, this is in response to the County Commissioner's resolution that was passed last year, reconvening the Criminal Justice Commission to provide a status report on efforts under the Blueprint for Reform, and then also efforts that weren't necessarily addressed in the Blueprint for Reform, but have been undertaken regardless. So Judge Murphy and Jim McDevitt, I will, Ron, I'm not sure if you want me to share my screen with the presentation or if you all want to.
I've got it loaded.
Perfect. If you can just go ahead and share that. And Judge Murphy and Jim McDevitt, please feel free to walk the commissioners through your work.
Okay, thank you. I'll go through the numbered items that are on the Blueprint for Reform and articulate the bottom line on our findings. We've spent an awful lot of time talking to an awful lot of people in the last year, putting this together. We've talked with, in addition to those who are affected by our findings, people from outside the community, including Center for Justice, Disability Rights of Washington, NAACP, the Native Project, Northwest Justice Project, the Racial Equity Committee of the Law and Justice Council, Spokane Community Against Racism, and the Health District, and many others. And what we did was articulated our findings from the Blueprint for Reform that originally were produced a few years ago, and then took a look at how the affected agencies that are addressed by the report have done in complying with suggestions and reform issues that were suggested. So I'd like to go through those as we discuss this. The first one dealt with governance and general operations, and we suggested we create a regional justice commission and administrator and support staff. And I think probably the wisest thing that the commissioners in the city did was to hire Maggie Yates and her staff. She's been invaluable in putting this together. And in establishing the Office of Law and Justice, that's been a significant achievement for both the city and the county as well. I think the most important thing going forward is that adequate funding be provided, adequate resources and support that are not dependent on grant funds in order to sustain critical reform efforts. It's very important to keep that going, to fund it, and to recognize its expertise. The second matter we dealt with was reestablishing the Law and Justice Coordinating Committee. There's a state law that requires or that allows for counties to establish such an organization. It existed in our county for many years, but it kind of dropped off back in the early 2000s. This particular reform piece reestablished the coordinating committee, but it's failed to grow into an agile and effective working group necessary to create change. The committee should be replaced by a criminal justice coordinating committee, in our opinion. and it's really too unwieldy, too big, and it needs to be smaller, more compact, and able to work as an effective unit. In many cases, the committees established by the council have been very effective. And I think the meat is there. We just need to put the meat on the bones and be able to be more effective. In some cases, some committees have thwarted centralized communication, planning, and public transparency. But overall, the concept is good. It's strong. At the present, it's well funded, it's well staffed, and we're moving forward. Regarding outside agencies, nonprofits, and the public, I think both the county and city have made great strides in improving community-based partnerships and transparency. They should focus on pursuing public-private partnerships to further reform efforts as we go forward. The next would be the adoption of evidence-based portfolios for criminal justice management. We've noted that around the country, the use of risk and needs tools regarding the potential for worsening racial disparities exist. These tools need to be used. They should not determine, but do provide additional information for consideration, which can be useful to judges and parole officers, probation officers, public defenders, and prosecutors in such a high-paced, high-stakes environment. In addition to risk and need tools, local jurisdictions need to pursue other evidence-based reforms, starting with a portfolio of recommendations from the Justice Task Force. The task force included representatives from local government, criminal justice system, service providers, business leaders, the criminal justice system, and these people all met for over a year to study the local jail and justice system. The recommendations they endorsed included promising practices and evidence-based programs, and created a strategic vision for the future of our criminal justice system. Some modest improvements have been achieved. If the PSA and ORAS remain in use, jurisdictions should prioritize investments and validation. Jurisdictions should also evaluate and implement other evidence-based reforms where appropriate. We started out with a strong use of evidence-based reforms. Those are still important in going forward. Evidence-based decisions in the criminal justice system are essential and really need to be used. The city and county have not established recurring performance reports. We've suggested semi-annual reporting. Maybe that's a little bit too much. It's a lot of work to put these reports together, but there's been no progress under this recommendation for semi-annual reporting, even on an annual basis. Data and outcomes remain obscured from public view. So both jurisdictions, the city and county, should take steps to identify performance measures and publish progress reports. It's only through transparency and knowledge-based evaluation of the work in the criminal justice system that the public can be satisfied with the work of those systems. One of the big problems was information systems. We had so many different systems working at cross purposes that an awful lot of stagnation existed. There are opportunities for improvements in technology, which we identified and included court hearings, shared information, less paper use. We met with representatives from the county IT department and the municipal court administrator, who is an IT specialist as well. We reported that efficiency could be realized by using a more robust video conferencing system for court hearings and for communication between defense lawyers and the jail. The COVID-19 has really introduced an urgency for improvement in this area. Further information is necessary to evaluate the emergency reforms implemented in response to the pandemic. The IT departments have improved video and audio conferencing in courtrooms. Technological solutions for communicating between the public defender and incarcerated clients need to be advanced and more useful. It may sound like a simple solution, but it's a very big issue. Any technology to allow more efficient communication and allow attorneys to spend more time productively rather than sitting in the lobby would be a great improvement. Oftentimes, we have attorneys all over the jail courtroom and people bumping into each other, and there really isn't much opportunity for effective communication. There are about 89 public defenders who visit clients in jail. Any improvement in their ability to communicate with their clients will yield substantial savings and efficiencies. Skype and email communication should be implemented as part of this with due haste. As far as paper use, our suggestion is that both Superior and District Courts should move to electronic records with all haste. The Spokane Municipal Court, Prosecutor, and Public Defender have done so significantly. The Superior Court and District Courts have not significantly transformed electronic records and reports, although it's being discussed. The County Clerk's Office, Superior Court Clerk's Office, has done a good job of moving to electronic records, but there remains a good deal to be done in the rest of the system. In 2013, we noted that the criminal justice system used information from 12 different case systems included SuperCal, Superman, Jail Management System, PD Man, Pretrial Services Application, on and on and on. They don't talk to each other, and we recommended that all stakeholders collaborate to create and purchase a single system. Again, in 2013, we learned that implementation of Justware system for municipal court, probation, prosecutor, and public defender was transformative to that system. And the Justware system did allow easy, comprehensive communications among all agencies. The county needs to implement a comprehensive information system with all due haste. They have not done so. Any new systems procured by the city and county should be programmed to interface across jurisdictions. We recognize the implementation of needed reforms would be accomplished or frustrated primarily by elected officials, those being judges and prosecutors. They aren't really accountable except at the purse strings to other government agencies, but only to the voters. It's imperative that these officials be openly and fairly reported so that their criminal justice work can be fully examined. The Law and Justice Office is working to expand a data dashboard. They will share relevant data with the public. Some agencies have agreed to participate. However, municipal court and its parties, along with the county prosecutor's office, have not agreed to share this data. Thus, work is at a standstill from that point of view. The bottom line is performance reports are a central requirement of a transparent, accountable criminal justice system. Evidence-based policies have proven to guarantee greater community safety at reduced costs. These agencies must implement performance reports supported by evidence which measure outcome and are not merely output. Law enforcement, I should shout out to IT, county IT department. They've been helpful and responsive to everybody's inquiries who have contacted them to request assistance for criminal justice reform. The department has spent almost 2,400 hours collecting data for requests from the MacArthur grant. Law enforcement, one of the first things we were told when we began this evaluation process was that the sheriff's office, the sheriff told us, should be given an F because they can't do very much of what we suggested due to lack of funding. And that was Ozzy's big complaint. The blueprint made several recommendations.
I think he started the interview by saying the blueprint for reform wasn't worth the paper it was printed on.
That's true. And not much has changed. We met with Ozzy, we met with Chief Meidel and Assistant Chief Lundgren in creating this report. We had suggested an establishment of a law enforcement assisted diversion. Jim, why don't you talk about that program a little bit more?
I can do that, Judge. As Judge Murphy said, we met with Chief Lundgren, Chief Meidel and Assistant Chief Lundgren and Ozzy, and got some really good input. We had talked about LEAD, Law Enforcement Assisted Diversion, which is a program of diverting people to needed services prior to charging an arrest. And we have found that there's much progress in this area with, we don't really call it LEAD, but we've got community court, we've got co-deployed teams with mental health professionals, clinicians, along with the both the Spokane Police Department and the Sheriff's Office, and it essentially fills what we believed was the goal of LEAD, or Law Enforcement Assisted Diversion, and that is before putting somebody into the system, before charging somebody, and then throwing them into the whole booking, jail, etc., to try to divert those deserving individuals into other services like mental health and this sort of thing. And our bottom line on this is much progress in this area. Efforts for pre-arrest diversion opportunities need to be continued and to even expand for those people who benefit from that. We also talked about the consideration of the implementation of something like Project Ceasefire, and the bottom line was we were advised that the ceasefire program is really not suitable for this area. That was a consensus of the Sheriff's Office and the SPD. Although ceasefire is aimed at gang activity, and if current gang activity within the area increases, as it seems to have recently, then maybe we need to take a second look at Project Ceasefire. We can go into that in detail, or what the elements of that. Our third thing in law enforcement was to expand neighborhood crime prevention programs. our bottom line there was excellent community outreach programs that are in place, and they should be continued, both the sheriff's office and the police department, with things like SCOPE, COPS, YPI, Youth Police Initiative, PAL, Police Activities League. All those are excellent outreach programs and need to be expanded, funded, expanded, and continued. Currently, some of those programs like YPI and PAL have to be funded through either grant money from private individuals or money raised by organizations like the Spokane Police Foundation and this sort of thing to pay for YPI and PAL because of current legal limitations on basically funding meals and this sort of thing. But those are very important programs. One of the things we said was expand the crisis intervention teams. Happy to report that excellent progress by Spokane Police Department regarding CIT, critical incident training, and ECIT, enhanced critical incident training. I believe the county sheriff said that they were lagging slightly behind, and the reason was a lack of funding. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Judge Murphy, but I think he had indicated that a lack of funding prevented him from going the full 40-hour and the CIT and for all of his officers. I could be wrong on that, but that was my impression. Also, but lastly, we said, because one of the objectives of this whole thing was not only the efficient delivery of legal service, of criminal justice services, but also governmental efficiencies. And we talked about combining various law enforcement functions. There's been significant progress in this area. There's been some resistance to some of the programs, and you're well aware of these. For example, the combination of a 911 center, combination of a number of other things, complete training and separate training facilities. It's my belief that there could be improvement in that area, but there has been significant progress. I also talked about joint purchase of equipment and was advised that the county and the city are on different tracks from the standpoint of the purchase of, for example, vehicles and some equipment, this sort of thing. But again, from the standpoint of efficient government, I think every effort should be made for joint purchase of everything from body armor to vehicles to cameras and the like. And that was pretty much it on the law enforcement.
I'm sorry to jump in, gentlemen. I just want to flag, we are at time, and I know the commissioners have a tight schedule this morning, so I just want to touch base and see if we should pause here and answer any quick questions, and then sort of come back to the commissioners if additional presentation is warranted.
Fine. Any questions?
Yeah, Mary or Josh, you have any questions? I can't see you, so speak up.
No, this is Mary. No, it's just really great information to get. So this is good for us to know and to be aware of. So thank you very much for that. And yeah, if we're out of time, I mean, I definitely would want to have more time to, look at this, think about it, and talk to you gentlemen more.
We'll be publishing this report very shortly, and it'll be delivered to you. I would encourage you to take a look, read it. If you have questions, any of the three of us are available to sit down with you either as a group or individually and discuss the various parts of the report. So we're kind of at your beck and call if you need to talk to us further about these matters and have further illumination. So,
Judge, would there be possibility of getting a draft of the report and then maybe coming back next Monday and we'll allocate more time to do a deeper dive into this?
Let me ask Ms. Yates, what's our target publication date?
I believe it was tentatively set for the 22nd, I believe, but we can push it back to whenever is most convenient for the drafters and the commissioners.
I'm thinking if the final report is due imminently by next week, that should suffice rather than a draft. So we hope to finalize it by then, right, Maggie?
Yeah, and we can work on getting, if we'll touch base with the 3 criminal justice commissioners and try and get a draft to you and the others, Commissioner French, as long as the gentlemen drafting the report are comfortable with that and ready to share a draft.
Then why don't we tee this up for a deeper dive on next Monday? That's all right. If our esteemed experts are available.
Fine with me.
I think I'm okay.
Okay. So we'll tee it up for 9 o'clock next Monday, and we'll allocate more time for this and allow for greater conversation about the different elements within the report.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
You bet.
Thank you.
Thanks for your work.
You bet.
Okay.
Okay,
So,
goodbye.
this gets us into our CARES funding. Part of the program we enjoy every Monday. So the first topic is Patrick Farrell, IT department. You're on, Pat.
Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me?
We can, Pat. You're a little muffled,
Okay.
Pat.
Hang on, sorry, my phone's ringing here. Let me just send it to voicemail. So as we started deploying our CARES Act laptops to county employees, it's become apparent that a second docking station is beneficial to those teleworkers that are splitting their time between home and the office. With the docking station, it's just a very simple disconnect the cable from the docking station, pick up your laptop, take it to your alternate work location, and connect the cable to the docking station there. Without the secondary docking station, there's a monitor cable and maybe the power cord cable and a keyboard cable that need to be connected to the laptop. So just it presents a cleaner hookup experience for the employee. And then we also included a request for power strips in this to protect the equipment from power surges and spikes when the equipment's at the employee's home. And the total of this request is $81,000.
Okay.
Questions?
Any questions for Pat? All right. So that would then say, Mr. Kearns, you're up.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve and authorize up to $81,000 to facilitate the IT ask for docking stations, power strips, and other supporting items as described by Pat Farrell.
I'll second that.
Okay, I've got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Let the record reflect the motion passed unanimously. Thanks, Pat, for all
Thanks,
your work.
Pat.
Thank you.
All right. Next, David Baird.
Good morning.
Morning, sir.
So I reached out to the other ALS fire agencies in the county, and that was quite a learning experience for a lot of reasons. Nobody else at this time is interested in asking for CARES money for the same equipment that we are. I guess that's the best way for me to explain it. I fielded a lot of questions about what money was available, which I really couldn't answer. What could we spend it on, which I really didn't feel comfortable answering. But when it got down to, this is the equipment we're asking for, would you be interested in doing the same thing? None of the agencies wanted to make that kind of a wholesale switch, mainly in brand name. And for most of them, they have probably half the number of ALS units that we do, as many paramedic units as we do. And a lot of them have just purchased stuff within the last couple of years. So they didn't want to just I thought it was pretty cool that they didn't just want to come hit up the CARES grant for new stuff just because they could hit up the CARES grant for new stuff. So feather in their hat for that, but nobody was really interested in going forward with the same amount of equipment that we were. Some said, well, we might look into doing something else. I don't know what that something else would be. I can't speak for any of the other agencies. But as far as doing that, no, there aren't any other agencies. There were a couple that originally were interested, and then after people in my position took it up their chain of command, it got it was a no. So I guess that leaves it to us.
So then the updated amount of the request, including the other fire districts, then is now $3,038,000. Is that right?
No, because there would not be. I would not include the other fire districts. I can't speak for them, so I could only speak for the amount that's listed for Spokane Valley Fire.
Okay. So that's the 1.7 million.
Correct. It's less than that, but that was I rounded that number up just to.
Okay. By a factor of $1 million or by a factor of $2?
Well, it was 1.6 something, so I just bumped it up to 1.7. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Any questions, Mary?
No, I just say, David, thank you for making those phone calls and checking, so that way we know. I did get a call from one of your fire commissioners recommending that, yes, that there is this need and that this would be a great use of CARES dollars for it. So, so I think at this point in time, I'm ready to move forward with this request.
Okay. Josh?
Yeah, I'm comfortable moving forward. I mean, my big concern was that this was going to turn into a $10 million ask or something, because every other fire district across the county was going to ask. But if that's not the case, then I'm comfortable moving forward with this.
Okay. So I think it's in your court, Mr. Kearns.
Can you, Mr. Baird, can you tell me again what the name of the device is, just so as I make my motion here?
It would be to purchase the Zoll X series cardiac monitor.
Okay.
And then additional equipment to go with that.
Okay. Mr. Chair, I move to approve and authorize up to $1.7 million of CARES dollars to purchase the Zoll X cardiac monitor and supporting items as presented by Mr. Baird with Spokane Valley Fire.
I will second that.
Okay, I've got a motion and a second to approve the request by Mr. Baird. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Let the record reflect the motion passed unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Baird, for all your work.
And thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks for your patience with us, David, to get through it all.
I appreciate the process. I really do. Thank you.
You're the one.
We all do. We all appreciate it.
There's always one. I'm just saying. All right. So next one is.
I did email Betsy to have a get on.
So and the request for Mike Sparber, they're still waiting for some bids to come in. So we're going to move that to next week. So you can go ahead and scratch that off of today's agenda. Darian, while we're waiting for Betsy, do you want to speak to your issue?
I can. I'm not sure if Gil's on the line yet. We were going to kind of do the Arian and Gil show.
Is this the West 55 mission
It's
property?
the homeless plus the transitional housing, Commissioner.
Okay, so before we take this item up, we're going to have an executive session.
2 items, I believe, Commissioner French.
Okay.
2 items dealing with pending potential litigation. Chairman
yes.
French.
Yeah, right. For the right. So let's come back and visit this. And Tony Hall, you're not on the line with us.
Not yet.
Nope. So we are ahead of schedule by a lot.
By a whole bunch.
By a whole bunch.
Why don't we push Betsy and Arian and Tony into about 11 o'clock.
Yeah. Yeah. And so,
We can contact them by phone or 10:30, 11 o'clock.
yeah, let's go ahead and advise Betsy and Arian, if you could rejoin us at 11 o'clock.
Okay.
We're going to go into executive session for the purposes of talking about pending potential litigation. There are 2 items to be discussed. The executive session will include the senior management team and all 3 commissioners. So it is now 9:40 or 9:36, and we will be in executive session until Jerry. This executive session is on the minutes is considered to be
How long?
30 minutes.
Let's go till 10:30 then.
Okay.
Because I think it'll go, we never get them in at 30 minutes, so.
Okay.
And then Chairman French, I'm scheduled to talk about the West 55 mission in open session at presently at 10:50, and we can take anything out of sequence. So
Yeah.
we would take that as soon as we're through the executive session, I assume, Chairman French?
So does the executive session, does one of the items include, Mr. Gimmel, what we learned last Friday? Otherwise, we've got 3 issues.
With the issue with the city that we learned last Friday, that's potential litigation.
That is correct.
Okay. All right. So we've got 2 potential litigations.
Correct.
All right. So we'll be in
Okay.
executive session until 10:30. And so Arian, who's already left. Oh, there you are. If you could join us at 10:30, that'd be great.
Happy to.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So,
And Jim, did you have any of the colors on the phone that you would like on the
no,
spoken about? Okay.
no.
All right, I'll disconnect everybody right now.
And those that are on the phone, if you want to rejoin us at 10:30, that'd be great. All right.
But Gina,